What's up, guys? Welcome to Good Bad Wrestling, No Holds Barred. This is a show where we dig up bad wrestling from the past and then bury it again. I am your host, John.
And I'm Jack Brinks.
You guys can find the podcast wherever they got podcasts. We're on iTunes, Spotify, Google. We're in the deepest, darkest corners of the internet. While you're there, subscribe, rate, review. We dig all of that. You can also look at our big stupid faces on YouTube.
And we match.
Yeah, if you're watching today on YouTube, you can see that we are both wearing red, what do you call this, a T-ball shirt?
Baseball tee?
Baseball tee. Maybe it's baseball for you, it's T-ball for me. There's a running theme in our, almost 20 years of knowing each other or whatever it is. We routinely wear the exact same thing on accident,
and we never once have ever planned it. And we just fucking happens.
And we never once have changed because of it.
When you walked in, you didn't even see me, and I look at you, and the first thing I said was, "I'm not fucking changing."
So if you are watching us on YouTube, you get the joy of that. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can see us match our clothes in the future, and leave us some comments down below. Let us know your thoughts on the movie and the episode. So the movie in question, You Cannot Kill David Arquette, the new documentary. As we record it, came out today, so we are on the spot with that.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Shit, I didn't know that.
So as I said earlier, we dig up bad wrestling from the past and then bury it again. This is going to be our first movie review, other than our Good Bad 2 the sequel crossovers.
Yep.
We're flying by the seat of our pants here. This is going to be spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie. Come back and listen to the episode. We're gonna spill the beans on the whole damn thing.
If you're lucky, and I'm not a slap dick, then there'll be some kind of spoiler alert graphic. If not, well, then fucking deal with it.
It'll probably be in the title too, I would hope.
Yeah, well, that's your deal. So
if we're both not slap dicks. All right, well.
So I'm going to ask you, what was your expectation going into this?
I had heard really good things. I was pretty connected with the hype around the movie leading up to its release, and it was getting like Sundance Film Festival accolades and attention. I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter from like RJ City and some of the people who are in the movie. I knew that David Arquette had been out wrestling and that he was actually getting a lot of positive attention for what he was doing out there. On the Instagrams, give us a follow, Good Bad Wrestling. I noticed that he was getting in better and better shape.
Yeah.
So the movie was, honestly, I expected it to be good, and it met my expectations.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be honest. I thought this had come out a while ago.
Okay.
I knew
they've been advertising it for a long time.
Yeah. So I've been following David Arquette for a while. Probably before we started doing the show, maybe or around when we started, because of obviously Good Bad,
right?
Good Bad Wrestling. Good Bad Wrestling doesn't get as big as David Arquette winning the world title in WCW.
Yeah, the only reason we haven't covered that yet is because it's like a back pocket, like A-bomb creme de la creme of Good Bad. So yeah.
So I'd followed him. I'd seen stuff coming out. I saw him in shape, and I was like, "Is he seriously wrestling? Is it like what's the gimmick, the deal behind this?" And I thought the documentary had come out before. No clue that it came out today.
Okay.
So
all right, yeah, it came out today. So, all right, let's get into it. And then by the time we're done kind of breaking it down, we can give you guys our overall thoughts on it.
So if you guys see me on my phone, like last episode for our top bottom 5 on a pole matches, I took notes. So
yeah, you're the bookkeeper, the gatekeeper.
Yeah, I'm Zool.
So. There is no David Arquette. There's only Zool. So yeah, the first thing they do is they sort of review his WCW run.
Well, it opens with Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, Mr. Anderson is basically doing
cutting a promo on this asshole,
saying fuck this guy for pretending to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
What he's doing is echoing the sentiment of wrestling fans.
Yeah.
Right, because generally that's how people felt about David Arquette.
And the first thing I thought of is, where the fuck has this guy been?
He's in Impact, and then I think he's in TNA. Or sorry, not TNA.
I was like, are
he went back in time. He has a time machine. He went into TNA. I think he's in NWA.
Oh.
Yeah, so because he's a promo guy, so NWA is all promos.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they sort of spend some time recapping. They sit down like Ric Flair, and they're like, "Oh, what do you think of David Arquette?" And he's like, "I like David Arquette. He's really respectful." They're, "What do you think of him as a wrestler?" He was like, "Let's not go that far."
Yeah, they basically asked him. They asked him if you gave him your blessing. He's like, "As a person, yeah." As a wrestler, he's like, "No."
He was like, "Let's not get nuts." What I think we've touched on it before. What was your kind of thought of David Arquette, the wrestler? Did you look at it as just like a blip in time that's not that serious? Obviously, we're not talking about world news serious. This is all pertaining to just wrestling. But yesterday, did it bother you that he had been WCW champion, or were you just like, it's just another stupid thing that happened?
No, and because at that point, as we've covered, WCW was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
as we've covered, and we will continue to cover.
So it wasn't a shock. To me, it was. I remember it at the time, and I didn't watch Ready to Rumble at that time. Mm-hmm. Like I saw it years later, so I didn't put it together that it was because of a movie. Yeah. Basically, honestly, I don't remember that much of him being in it. Like as we were watching this, I was like, "Fuck, I don't remember him doing promos. I don't remember him wearing that."
He did a little more than I remembered him doing.
So to me, it was like wrestling's so full of dumb shit.
Yeah,
especially when you look at WWE now.
The worst era in wrestling history.
Yeah, WCW. 99, 2000, just full of garbage. Mm-hmm. So it was just another thing.
Yeah.
I would say if it was AEW now and they put a title on them, I'd be like, this is fucking
when
awful.
You compare it to the product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a big when you have like we covered when you have a show on Nitro and half the matches are on a pole, straight jacket, women's hardcore, like nothing matters.
David Arquette winning the WCW title wasn't a turd in the punch bowl. It was a turd in the turd bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what is a turd bowl, but
it was just another turd in the septic tank.
So and then they kind of jumped to today, right?
Modern day. I think 2018.
Yeah, like what is his life? And they're kind of going through like he's divorced from Courtney Cox, and he
hadn't acted in 10 years.
He had a bunch of kids. He had gone 10 years without an acting job.
So one of the things that popped in my mind, I'm not bagging on anybody, but you see the things in his life, and I'm maybe he made a ton of money acting in the time period he was big, like with all the Scream movies, but I'm like, if you haven't worked in 10 years, how do you maintain this?
Well, they kind of laid out that his wife is really successful and gaining success in what she does as a producer and filmmaker. And I think that if you have a couple of big enough hits that you can probably survive off royalties.
Yeah.
And Scream is a big enough thing to survive off of.
That's true. Every Halloween.
Yeah. So, but he's like, his face is really puffy and he's got like a big gut. He's not like super fat or anything.
He's a skinny fat.
Yeah. He's really out of
not fat.
No, not like this. He's like just out of shape.
Yeah.
But 10 years.
But you also find out that he's, they don't really go into drugs. And maybe he doesn't use drugs, but alcoholic, has some issues.
Functioning alcoholic, which I didn't know that. That was new information to me, but I also wasn't, I mean, you hear about any famous people and that's the case. It's not surprising.
Well, they give you a little glimpse into his life growth. Like they talk to Patricia and Rosanna Arquette.
Yeah,
and
you get the idea that that entire family is that their family dynamic when they were kids was not traditional, and it kind of set them all on a course of issues. They don't really give you enough information to go off of, but I would imagine there's also some chemical genetic things probably going on also.
Well, they have a scene, and I don't remember where it fell in in the timeline of it, but David Arquette goes to the doctor and he gets like a brain scan, and they basically say his brain just like developed oddly.
Yeah,
like
they say like his frontal lobe. He said, the doctor said, the best way I can explain it is that his brain isn't connected, is what the doctor said. And I'm like, I don't really know what that means, but like, yeah, he just, from a lot of different perspectives, has a lot of challenges to overcome.
And you get kind of a glimpse into it with, like, at one point he's playing tennis with a huge racket and a huge ball. And then
he goes and sits in his giant chair with his tiny ukulele.
Yeah. And like, and
he's talking about in that moment is that he likes the way that kids view the world, and he doesn't want to grow up.
The first thing I thought of was Michael Jackson.
I thought Billy Madison. Yeah, same, right? Like, he just is stunted.
Yeah, and none of this is it's not like an attack or an insult.
No, it's just observation.
What it is in the movie. So he hadn't worked in 10 years. They fast forward. They start talking about, or fast forward, rewind. Start talking about how he got involved in WCW.
Yeah, they interview Eric Bischoff, who openly admits that the way that he booked him was incorrect, and that he broke the golden rule of bringing celebrities in and how you're supposed to handle that. And he was like, you don't let them expose the business. And he took the blame for booking it. And then,
but whose idea was it?
But then he goes, but it wasn't my idea. It was Vince Russo's idea. And then they show an interview with Vince Russo, and somebody
shocked face.
somebody says, well, I forget how they posed the question to Vince Russo, and they said, was that the cracks of the beginning? And what they were referring to was the downfall of WCW. Yeah. And he goes, that wasn't the cracks of the beginning of WCW. That was me killing wrestling. He
killed the business.
He openly admitted that decision actually killed the entire wrestling business. I don't agree with him.
No.
But I've never heard him take blame for anything. I was blown away by that.
But he took blame, but it didn't. He almost said it smugly, like happy. Like it didn't affect him. It's Vince Russo.
Yeah, he's Vince Russo. Fuck him.
So then they jump forward to like him talking about. So the running theme, and I didn't expect it through the movie, and I almost, I guess, felt bad for him. Is he didn't want the title. He didn't want this stuff in WCW. Like his goal going into it wasn't, hey, I want to be WCW champion. He loves wrestling and wants to be part of it, but didn't want that. And he like legitimately feels bad that he and is tortured by the idea that he disrespected wrestling.
Yeah, it never occurred to me as it doesn't with all famous people that they're real people, right? Where all of us are guilty of not treating public figures like real people.
Yeah.
I never stopped to think about how bothered he must be by that.
Yeah.
Because his reputation in wrestling is that fuck that won the title, not a guy who they thrust this upon and feels guilt over it. So it was really interesting to see that he's like, I don't want people to not like. He wants to be liked just in general. Yeah. He's like a childish pleaser type of person, and having an entire community that just has shit on him for 20 years for something that he didn't decide to do. Not only did he not decide it, he actively tried to resist it. And there's a really poignant part where DDP is doing an interview with somebody, and he looks right down the barrel of the camera and he goes, "They come to you and tell you they're going to put the WCW World Heavyweight Championship on you. You're going to turn it down." And he rolls his eyes like, "Yeah, fucking right."
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, if you're a huge wrestling fan and they're like, "We're going to do this with you," you're going to be like, okay.
But you also don't think, I guess it never, like, you never know that he's a huge fan. Yeah. Wrestling is known for bringing in celebrities always come in. Like, and they always do something. I can't remember anyone else holding a title.
I think I want to say like a major title. I think he's probably the only celebrity that they did that with, because it was such a bad idea. Who else would do that?
Yeah, but they're like, it's nothing new in wrestling. Like, wrestling is show business, right? I mean, it's...
There's celebrity match is a thing, and it always has been. Most recent case is Pat McAfee, who absolutely hit a grand slam with his match, right?
Which I wanted to watch, but my wife deleted, so...
Yeah,
thanks, Savannah.
That's a topic for another day.
Looks like I'm sleeping in down here tonight. Wait, what?
Yeah, wait a minute. You have, like, Lawrence Taylor and Mike Tyson's been involved, and the list goes on.
Kevin Green.
Oh boy, Mongo, who had a 20-year celebrity career. But the list goes on and on and on and on. So it was not unheard of.
No.
But it was really interesting to see his guilt about it. So the whole point of the documentary is that he's setting out to
kind of right his wrong
and live out his dream and pay his dues. And he doesn't even know what any of that means. He just knows that he wants to change the perception.
And I can connect with being 17 years old, and you kind of flash back to, like, for me, 17 years old, your whole life kind of living. I don't know if it was the same for you. Like, wrestling at that time was looked at like you're an idiot if you watch wrestling. So a lot of people.
That's the other thing that's a theme through the entire documentary is outsiders and how they look at wrestling, and his whole family and all of his actor friends and their TMZ. They're all looking at him like, ugh. Like, it's the reason that you haven't worked in 10 years.
Yeah.
Is how it's perceived. And you're going to jump into it head first. Like, ew. And he doesn't share that opinion.
Yeah, but it's that, how do you start? How do you...
Yeah, where do you start? How do you do it?
Yeah, so his journey starts with going to my man, Brian Knobbs.
Yeah. He goes, what's the show called?
Legends of Wrestling. That game was awful. I don't know if there's a connection between them.
He goes to Legends of Wrestling, and he basically just pleads with Brian Knobbs.
In like an Applebee's.
In Applebee's. This seemed like a work to me.
It
was hard to tell whether or not the altercation with Knobbs was a work, or if a real incident happened and the movie applied music and shakiness and stuff like that to try to further dramatize it, because his reaction afterwards was genuine, like, they won't let me play with them sadness, but he's an actor. So I had a hard time telling whether that was a shoot or work, which I'm a wrestling fan. I want you to work me.
That's true. I didn't actually think of that throughout the movie, that he is an actor. Mm-hmm. So is any of this stuff, is it all real emotion or is it acting?
I think it is. I bought almost all of it. Except for that altercation with Knobbs, because it's Knobbs.
So yeah, basically he asked Knobbs, he's like, he basically puts out, he tries to sell him on an idea of him getting involved with this show.
Right.
And Knobbs is like, surprisingly, he's being kind of nice about, no, I just don't think it's a good idea, basically.
Right.
And then they get kind of in a physical, like, pushing match. And then it cuts back to him saying, like, this runs deep. Like, this is a sensitive thing for these guys have done this for 40 years. And
which shows you that he gets it.
Yeah.
He understands why he has the place in wrestling that he has at that moment. He understands the lineage and the generations and wrestling is a story, like history, that never ends.
Yeah.
It has no beginning and it has no end, and it's just continuously going, but you gain more and more history as it goes. He gets that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this dude isn't just like a casual fan. He understands the intricacies of wrestling fanhood, and he doesn't even know that he understands it.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he doesn't know, and he doesn't know what he does know. Yeah. It's weird.
So then it cuts to the first of two really uncomfortable spots for me.
Okay.
In the movie, where they're talking about his depression. And this is where the big tennis racket and the big and his wife is like, he has a hard life. Like, he's extremely depressed. He's an alcoholic. He has, you say he smokes. I don't know if there's any drugs or if it's like cigarettes, but he has issues and goes to a therapist, psychotherapist, and he goes to the doctor to get a ketamine shot.
This was startling.
So for people that don't know, and that might, I don't know too much about this, about ketamine, because it's not as popular, but this form, apparently they're starting to do like psychotherapy with it. It's a street drug, or ketamine is a horse tranquilizer, but it is used on the streets by different names. So he goes to get a ketamine shot, which is a lot of these psychoactive or psychotropic or whatever you want to call it.
And it's a very clinical, professional administration.
Yeah.
Of the ketamine.
He's not like buying it off a corner to do it.
It's not back alley at all, but the camera locks on what happens to him,
the chemical change that comes from the reaction of essentially getting high from the ketamine, and it's really hard to watch.
Yeah, and it wasn't like the kid coming out of anesthesia on YouTube who's like, it's gonna get lit.
Yeah.
He's having a very similar, like, I don't even know how you describe it. He's just different. He's just high.
So he starts talking about like how I love life and everything's great and I'm so happy and I feel so good. And he's like, hi. And then you see like the crash, and you see this turn of,
they have to kind of like restrain him. And his wife is like really uncomfortably trying to keep her mood up to not give him, like, a, for lack of a better term, a bad trip. And it is really tough to watch. And it makes you, the world looks at David Arquette like a fucking clown, and that's his problem, and that's part of the reason why he's here in the first place. And that scene just breaks that image. Like, here's a real man with real issues who is having a tough fucking go of life.
Well, it does if you're someone with any sort of empathy for anybody else you look at, and it's like it kind of breaks that, what do they call it, the fourth wall. With, I mean, you always hear celebrities have drug issues and they go into rehab or whatever, and it's not really no one really cares. He's
also, around this time of the movie, he's going around to his various doctors, and he's asking them whether or not his body could stand up to the rigors of professional wrestling.
And he had 2 stents put in his heart.
They're like, well, you've had a heart attack and you had 2 stents
a year before that.
And you have 2 stents in your heart. And I was like, whoa, how would I have known that?
Yeah.
Like, and he still is looking into wrestling at 44. I thought he was in his 50s just based on what he looked like at that time.
Yeah.
And all of his doctor, he has a conversation with one doctor where he goes, let's say a 300-pound man jumps on me. Is that going to be a problem? And the doctor's like, well, I wouldn't recommend that. So he goes, maybe if there was some way that you could wear a helmet. And his first reaction is, that would be a pretty funny gimmick.
Yeah.
I have a theory, a bold statement that I want to come back to at the end, but that moment is definitely something that plays into it.
All right.
So all of his doctors are like, don't do this. And he no part of him is like, I'm not going to do this. He's full steam ahead doing it.
Yeah.
And is the first thing he does the backyard match?
Yeah. So then it goes to, he gets a phone call, and the guy's like, hey man, we got this signing, want you to come down, got RXW, and I was like, who the fuck is that? They're like one of the biggest companies on the East Coast, and I was like, I've heard of what is there, like Jersey All Pro Wrestling, which is huge. There's a ton of stuff on the East Coast. I'm like, never heard of these guys. And I
forgot about that phone call.
He goes to this signing, and like, so rewind. He goes to he's going to this signing, right? And
no one
he needs promo shots.
Oh yeah.
So he goes around his house and he's looking for shit. He goes to a storage, and he's got multiple storage units just filled with shit.
He's got to be paying more in storage unit fees than my rent.
Yeah.
He has so many storage units.
So he goes into one, and there's like a portable like closet or whatever, wardrobe, and he opens and he's like, oh yeah, this is like, it's kind of like a wizard cape, but if I take off the collar, so he's got this like sparkly fucking wizard cape. He goes,
when he puts it on, his whole demeanor changes.
He goes into a character,
and he just like flying around, like playing up to the camera.
It cuts to his photo shoot, and he's
loving life in this fucking purple bedazzled wizard cape.
The background is like high school photo day, like background, and he's posing this in like tidy whities and a fucking wizard cape.
And he loves every second of it. He has no he's like us, where he's just a fucking goof ass, and he doesn't have an embarrassment. It's not like part of him. And he goes home with it. He's like showing it off to his family. My favorite part of the entire movie. I'm so glad you didn't let us gloss over this. He's in his fucking underwear and the cape, and he's riding a horse, and he's sitting on the horse, and he's solemnly in his fucking purple cape going, everybody thinks I'm a clown.
It's in like the Hollywood Hills. He's like smoking a vape pen.
He's like, nobody takes me seriously. He's in his fucking underwear on a horse in a purple cape.
So like, I almost felt bad leading up to like, that was hilarious. But he's walking around his house, and he's like talking to his daughter, his oldest. And she's like, no, I don't want you doing this.
Yeah, his teenage daughter is being a teenage daughter. Yeah. And she's like, oh, God, no.
And he's wearing this thing. He goes to his wife, and he's talking to her, and she's like, you're just like daydreaming. Yeah. And you can see he's all giddy, and he's like, I'm gonna do this, and you can see the life get sucked out of him, and he's just like, he
cuts that conversation off short. I had this conversation with my family and friends, and I bet you did too. She goes, why do you have to do this? And he goes, I don't know why I have to do it, I just have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't explain it. It's a dumb career move. It's a bad profession to get into.
Yep.
It really, really is. But when it's inside of you and you have to do it, you can't explain to a non-wrestling person why you have to do it.
I remember the conversation with my dad of like, where I told him, hey, I'm gonna do this, and he goes, no, you're not. You can't do this. And I'm like, I don't need your permission.
Yeah.
And he goes, I don't mean like my permission, like, you can't do it.
Watch.
And I'm like,
yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, watch me.
So that leads up to like this depressing, like he's reflecting on his life in his underwear.
In his purple cape.
In a cape, riding a horse in the sunset. I know the horse's name was like Scooter or something.
It's man, this whole movie is the most emotions are all over the spectrum, but that scene was so depressing and funny at the same time. It was the literal the masks, the sad mask, and the drama mask. It was that to a T.
So then it goes to the signing, and you got some legends, and I mean it's basically what you would see the sign, like a signing in The Wrestler.
This is what the twilight of wrestling wrestler's career is signings and merch, and everyone was there. Scott Hall was there, and New Jack was there, and people you never heard of, and people that were huge deals.
And David Arquette is there, and not a single fucking person walks up to him.
Not only is no one walking up to him, but other people who are there are actively talking shit about, fuck that guy, he tried to kill the business.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to say this respectfully because it happens a bunch of times and I don't really know our audience. People who don't have any respect themselves are going out of their way to talk shit about David Arquette and how he doesn't deserve any respect.
Yeah.
And how he didn't pay his dues, and they're talking about themselves in the first person and saying people like us. And my response to them was, "Who the fuck are you?"
Oh, you're talking about the backyard.
There was the guy at the signing, and there was a bunch of people at the backyard.
Yeah, so we're at the signing.
It came up a few times. Yeah,
we're at the signing, and it's a guy who's running a booth just selling random merch.
And he's like, "Yeah, people like us." He's selling pictures of other people.
Yeah,
he was selling like illustrations.
Yeah.
So
then it cuts to the wrestler in the van in the parking lot.
Holy shit. Holy shit. This fucking guy has a magic van, which is the kind you shift on the column. Like a manual transmission.
Yeah, 3 on the tree.
3 on the tree. And it's like he lives in this van, clearly. It's like
it's like
furnished.
A traveler's, yeah.
Yeah, and he has his dumbbell, and he's doing like occasional curls, and he's talking about like, well, yeah, if he wants to be like us and like pay his dues. He's the new version of the guy from Beyond the Mat. I can't remember the guy's name. The guy that's pissed that Terry Funk won't book him.
Yeah,
and he's on his trampoline going like, if I'm not on the show, then I can't. If I'm not booked. He's the new version of that guy. I was in love with this guy, Joe Kelly.
Was that his name?
Yeah.
So David Arquette, he goes, I got you booked on the show. Yeah. It's a backyard show, but. And then I'm with you. It cuts over, and it's a backyard show.
It's not a successful backyard show, whatever that means. It's a non-attended backyard show, which I would say the majority of the ones that exist, that's the way that it is. Not only that,
it's what you think of a backyard show.
Yeah, your opinion of a backyard show, it's this. The guys who are running it and working it, they are talking about how little respect they have for David Arquette, and they're also talking about how they intend to take liberties with him. They intend to hurt him. And they intend to teach him a lesson about what we do and what this is all about and our respect for the business. And
motherfuckers, you're an adult.
Yeah.
You're a grown-ass adult. If you want to be a wrestler, go to a school, get training, like an actual school. There's plenty of them, especially on the East Coast.
Yeah. And
go to a school, or if you can't find one, go to a local indie show. And go talk to people.
Yeah, and I don't want to hear I don't want to hear those guys saying what we do.
Yeah,
you don't do what they do. It's not the same thing, and you don't get to act like what you do garners a bunch of respect.
Yep,
you're just an idiot with a light tube.
Yeah, and. I get it. They love wrestling, right? We love wrestling. We've done this much in the world of wrestling, but you put yourself out there to try to do it the right way, and and you don't go like you just beat your like. I did that when I was 15 years old with friends, just beating each other up in the yard.
I did backyard wrestling in my backyard, so I'm not.
But it doesn't make you a wrestler.
No, it doesn't. It's a really complex thing to have a conversation about. I don't mind you doing it. You just need to be realistic about your place in the greater wrestling spectrum.
Yep.
You're on one polar end, which doesn't get you any respect from the rest of the spectrum, if that makes any sense.
From the actual business.
You're on it. You're on the scale. But the rest of the scale is looking, you're in last place.
Yeah.
And so he has a hardcore match, David Arquette does, he's fat, he's drunk, but what he's doing is attempting a character to see if it fits
Works.
him, if it works. He's doing this wizard magic man thing. Apparently he does magic.
The hard part for me was, well, the one thing I thought of was, what do these kids think? Like, if I'm doing this and David Arquette shows up in my fucking backyard,
that was my beef, is that they're taking this like, fuck David Arquette, he doesn't do what we do stance, when in reality they should be thinking, if they had any smarts at all, the guy from Scream and the WCW champion is going to be in our shitty promotion. We need to get this on YouTube right away and take advantage of it, and he should go over on all of us.
Most of them probably weren't alive when he won the WCW title.
Yeah.
So you don't get to judge. He hasn't worked in 10 years, but he's a successful actor. He is somebody in the world of entertainment.
Everyone knows his name.
Yeah.
Everyone.
You don't get to sit there and go, we're going to show him.
Yeah. That scene made me feel I've lost
genuinely.
Yes, I've lost the ability to speak English. It made me feel genuine anger.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I want to fight all of them.
Yeah.
And then the fucking ring collapses while they're in mid, like, where we deserve respect.
And one of the guys goes, "You've been wrestling this whole time? There's no bolts in this?" And the guy goes, "Man, I was in jail when this was built."
Yeah, he has a fairly violent, like, light tube hardcore death backyard match, like what you would expect, and he comes away from all of this. This is the most day one dues paying you could get.
Yep.
And he comes away from all of that humble and excited for more. And I was like, this dude is serious.
Yeah. So then your buddy
Joe Kelly
takes him to a wrestling school.
Wait a minute. First, Joe Kelly says, "Are you serious about this?" David Arquette goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want to do what I do, what Ric Flair does, what Adonis did?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm sorry, excuse me?"
I don't remember yours and Flair's matches, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, so he takes him to some Podunk, Virginia wrestling school, which is it's as legitimate as any wrestling school. Yeah. I mean, the building that it's inside of doesn't represent the quality of a wrestling school, but it is a shitty building it's inside of. And the trainer here has the same attitude as these backyard fucks. And he goes, "Oh, Mr. Hollywood comes in here and he was joking and laughing at first, but he ain't joking and laughing now, is he?" They're stretching him and they're trying to make him puke and they're trying to gas him out. Again, you have a shitty place for your wrestling school. I bet you'd like to have a nicer place for your wrestling school. It might be a good idea to have David Arquette on your wall and your website and say, "Look who I trained." And
yeah,
I just don't understand the mentality of, like, fuck this guy, Mr. Hollywood, when he's there to learn.
And you have to think that they had a conversation with him.
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to do this? And if they did, which, I mean, I don't see any world where they wouldn't, and he comes across as and says, "Look, I feel like I shit on the business. I didn't intend to. I want to do this." Why would you not go, "All right, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what you got."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't.
It's a bad attitude, and I don't get it.
So he does that. Then it shows him. He goes back to L.A. I'm assuming it's L.A. And then it shows him in, like, a studio where he's playing with marionette dolls.
This was weird. He had shown a marionette earlier.
Yeah.
But now he's acting out with marionette dolls. The devil making him win the title, and
the devil was Bischoff.
Yeah. strange stuff.
He has a marionette doll of him.
Yeah.
And then a devil, and they're having a match.
Yeah. Hollywood people are weird.
Yeah. So then he does that, and then he goes, I want to do this.
Yeah.
His wife calls a guy that I'm gonna say this right now. David Arquette seems like one of the coolest motherfuckers on planet Earth.
His best friend in the world is just some guy that he met at the Super Bowl because he was wearing a Sandy Hook first responder shirt. So David Arquette's like, "You're gonna come into the Super Bowl with me."
Yeah, he goes, "Do you got a ticket?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "All right, let's go. I have an extra."
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, you just
he seems like the coolest fucking guy ever. So this guy is like his handler, so to speak, in this whole thing.
Yeah, why his wife Christina goes, "Hey, can you go with him? Like, he's gonna go to Mexico to get trained by DDP," which was weird.
DDP is basically the trainer from Kickboxer in all of this, and he like has him do like training, like DDP yoga on the beach, and then he goes to Mexican luchador wrestling school in Tijuana, and he pays his fucking dues. Like they put him through. They're trying to get him to do like a flying head scissors, and he can't get it, and they're like, if he can't do this, then he can't do anything. And
which I could understand the fear.
Yeah.
When you go up to do some of these bumps and some of these, and you're learning, like, so for people that don't know, wrestling is not natural.
No,
it's not a normal. Everything hurts.
And throughout the course of it, they don't talk about this, but it's just an observation I made from somebody that's taken a bump. You can see in his actions, in his eyes, that he goes from someone who thought this was pretending to hit people, which is what most people think. You can watch him transition to, oh, you hit people, and you get hit, and you just try not to injure each other with, professional knowledge. This is an instance where that mindset changes for him.
Yeah.
Where he's going, oh, it's never pretending to do a thing. You're doing the thing.
Because it's different when he's thrown into main event on WCW, like, he's Hollywood, right? It's just an angle.
Yeah.
To them, it's an angle. So he's getting protected.
He's getting protected, and he's taking all the heat.
Yeah.
He's not giving anything. It's really easy to take heat and sell it.
Yeah.
It might hurt, but it's easy to do.
Yeah.
If you have any showmanship, you can just walk in and do that on day one.
Yeah, so they're training, and then it cuts to traffic jam in this on a busy highway in Tijuana.
This was a rad. So apparently in Tijuana, this wrestling school, to make money, the way that they panhandle is at red lights. They have little mini matches in front of the traffic.
Yeah.
And then go collect money from the traffic. I was like,
and you can tell you're gonna get money when people are honking.
They're into it. They're like, hell yeah, that was awesome. And he goes through a little brief transition of being like terrible, and then he suddenly does something cool, and he gets a bunch of money, and he's like super stoked about it.
Like, he climbs up on a ladder and does a dive onto two people, a crossbody in the middle of a crosswalk in a busy intersection.
He's making connections with the other luchadors. They're like, he's gaining their respect. I loved this whole part.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Rocky movie-esque, like storytelling cool. I loved it from a standpoint of like what took place, and from a filmmaking of how they showed it.
Then it goes to he's catching chickens. They go out drinking and doing karaoke. He gets a lucha tattoo.
Yeah, it looks fucking cool.
A bar night with a bunch of luchadors.
David Arquette is punk rock.
which was like to me, it was like a flashback of going out and drinking with wrestlers after a show, and just,
which I would not advise.
Yeah, no. He goes back to Hollywood. Oh, he has a match.
Yeah.
It seems like at the school, the whole point of that match was just for him.
Yeah, he gets his mask, which was a cool moment.
Yeah.
And then the other luchadors take off their masks for him, which was really ceremonial.
Yeah.
And then one of them gave him their mask, which makes
him signed it,
which makes him cry. This is gonna keep coming back. He fucking gets it.
Which is actually a big thing. That one, it pisses me off that people do is I've seen message boards where people talk about certain wrestlers that it seems pretty common that you can go up to luchadors and you can buy their masks after shows,
like off their face.
Yeah, that they'll sell them, and these guys buy them to resell them.
Yeah,
which pisses me off.
Yeah,
like And I get it. Like, you got guys like Pentagon. They make money doing that. Like, they buy these masks for, I don't know, maybe $100, and they sell it for $400 after a match.
Sure,
good for them.
Good on you.
These guys sell them to whatever.
Yeah.
He goes back to LA. He makes the announcement to the world that
he goes on Wendy Williams
to make his coming out announcement that he's getting into wrestling.
And the crowd's like, yay.
and then it goes to his house, and they're putting up a ring.
This fucking killed me. The guy who's delivering it or constructing it is explaining to his wife, so what you want to do is you got and she interrupts him and she goes, do we own this? He was like, yeah.
Which actually, now that I think about it, if you guys follow Jungle Boy, which he comes in later, you see him training in a ring outside. It's got it. I think it's that ring.
He spends oh really?
Yeah, there's an outdoor ring that I've seen during all the Dynamite. Ongoing situation.
Okay.
Saw him training at.
It's that ring,
and I think it's the same ring, unless he has one at his house also.
It could be,
but they're you see later.
Yeah,
they're super close.
They seem pretty close, and Peter Avalon, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so Peter Avalon is the one who starts training him.
Yeah, like at his house.
Yeah,
if you watch Dark,
and the Santino brothers, which is a huge, it's like a legendary school in Southern California.
Yeah.
A ton of people have come through Santino brothers.
If you watch Dark, AEW Dark on YouTube, and you're keeping up with the Peter Avalon, Brandon Cutler losing streak, and you're watching their matches, you will know that Peter Avalon, although the librarian gimmick is really hokey, he is a super worker.
Yeah.
He is not a he's not a jobber. He is that dude is a super worker, and he's really good at the dumb character that he has.
Didn't Cholo go to Santino Brothers?
I can't.
He said he did.
I can't remember. But so yeah, he's doing real training at this point. Like, he's taking it very seriously, and you get to watch him improve as the whole thing goes on.
Yeah. Then he gets called out on TMZ.
RJ City calls him out.
Yeah.
Which we briefly said while we were watching it. I'll repeat it here. RJ City just seemed to me like the first person smart enough to go, if David Arquette's a wrestler, I should work an angle with him. Because if I'm an independent wrestler and I want to get noticed, I'm going to wrestle a guy who, like I said, literally everyone on this planet knows his name.
Yeah.
So good for RJ City.
Which reminded me of when Todd Bridges wanted to get into wrestling. And what was it? Hogan's Hollywood Wrestling or
Celebrity Wrestling or some shit.
Whatever. Todd Bridges wasn't bad. He was
took it seriously.
He wanted to do it, and then up here in San Francisco, Fog City Wrestling was like, "Come wrestle here."
Yeah,
and like it's smart. Like,
yeah,
if someone wants to do it and they have a name behind them,
yeah,
like, and what's the worst that can happen?
And the wrestlers should treat that non-wrestler with respect.
Yeah.
Because they're going to put eyes on you.
Yeah.
Whether they're good, whether they're taking it seriously, that's another story. You can judge that after the fact.
Yeah.
But as they're coming in and while they're doing it, you should treat them with the utmost respect, because they're going to put eyes on you that didn't exist.
What's the saying? Any publicity is good publicity?
Yeah, exactly. Like, so in this scene, there's a really important part here that's going to feed into this theory I'm working on. David Arquette is explaining how the match went, and they're showing you the match as it went. And basically with like photographic memory, he's going move for move over how this match went. Which, if you don't know, keeping a match straight in your head while you're doing it is really hard to do. It is a learned skill.
Yeah, if you're spotting out, like you're
keeping spots straight and the order of things in your head is really hard to do. It's even harder to do after the fact, because it's like studying for a test. You purge that information afterwards.
Right away.
You are on to the next thing, right? Whatever it is in your life or the next match, whatever. You purge that information. You don't need it anymore, and you don't want it clogging up the next thing. The fact that he could recall all of that was really impressive to me.
Yeah. So he wrestles RJ City at what is it? Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, which is a big
Southern California promotion
that's gaining seems to be gaining quite a bit of steam.
Yeah.
And so he has a match, and the fans fucking eat it up. Before we continue with that, his preparation for this was his spray tan. So first off, I've been there. I mean, part of it, like, I remember getting spray tan. I remember wrestling, and I got a spray tan, and it was bad, and I had like a stripe. And I was in practice, and I remember someone said something about calling me like a candy cane or some shit like that.
So the girl she's doing the tan, she's painting him, and he has a satin purple like crown royal bag on his dick, and she kind of is dusting him off, and she bounces his dick a couple of times, and she looks up at him like, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, don't worry about that. And then she's like, you know what my favorite scene of your movie is? And he is very sincerely like, what? He's standing there with his dick in a bag covered in orange dust, and he's like, yeah. And then he starts flexing when she leaves the room. I was crying. This was so unbelievably funny.
And then he goes home. He's melting. Spray tan is melting off, and his family's like, what the fuck did you do? And his wife goes, did you forget you have an audition? And he's like, oh, fuck.
So he just rushes to the shower. This is a person who has begun a wrestling career, who overlooked everything else in his life because of wrestling. And I'm like, okay, I've been there. I get it. I got fired from a really good paying construction job when I first started wrestling because I was calling in for everything. I was calling in for like shows, for training, and then I was making up excuses because I couldn't keep using the same one, and I had used concussion as one of my fake things, and then I got a real concussion, and I called, and they were like, you're fired. Like, once I used the same thing twice, and I was like, yeah, I knew that was coming.
So then he has his match. This was so the whole time, his oldest daughter, with Courtney Cox, is like, my dad's a fucking idiot. Like, she wants no part of this. She goes to the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and she's like, that was fucking amazing.
Yeah, and the oldest daughter is like into it. She's trying to show it to Courtney Cox,
and you can see again, that's a obviously don't have a kid that watched, but I remember my dad was like the biggest critic of me wrestling. We used to watch wrestling together, but I never got to show him, like, he never saw a show, but I got to show him video of me wrestling, and it's a cool moment. Like,
they like, oh, okay, yeah.
It's cool to see the smile on his face. So for him to see it on his daughter's face, was like, she accepts this. Yeah, she's like, okay, this is for real. Yeah, and I like it.
Yeah,
like,
it's not just cool. You fucking around. It actually is a thing. It's something.
And then it goes to a crazy video package
of his like Eye of the Tiger moment of him like having matches.
Just matches with, like, you name it.
Yeah,
like,
he's just going match after match after match after match.
And he's tagging with RJ City, and they got matching gear, which was dope as fuck.
Fucking gear. Yeah.
And he's doing these big ass shows and wrestling names and high spots and winning matches, and like it's a thing. His wife talks about how he lost 50 pounds. He stopped drinking, stopped smoking.
Yeah, he's getting in better shape. Like
he's jacked.
Yeah.
At what, 47 or 46, whatever he is.
What was great to me in this whole vignette is, of course, it fits David Arquette, where she's talking about what great shape he's in, and this is his Eye of the Tiger scene, and he's swimming in the pool, and he gets about 3 strokes, and a big inflatable like whale comes and gets in his way, and he has to like push it away. And I was like, even when they're trying to do this moment, I thought that was really like endearing and funny. And then this is all leading up to a match with this dude's name is Murder Death Kill that he's having this match with.
Oh, I thought it was Nick Gage, or that's his.
I mean, he goes by Murder Death Kill.
So this was the second cringeworthy, like, really hard thing to watch. I I don't understand for the life of me death matches. It's
you
zero entertainment value.
You and I are really opposed on this. I don't understand death matches as a career path, but I understand death matches as a stipulation here and there.
Yes, to an extent.
I understand the appeal of watching it.
I do. I don't understand the 1,000 light tubes and like these shows that are that's all they do.
Yeah,
like
there has to be story.
Like Moxley had done matches with like weed whackers and like I don't get the appeal.
So what happens here is he's in the middle of this match. He's getting absolutely poleaxed.
And it's just a match.
Yeah, there's no story, there's no reason for it.
But I mean they're wrestling.
Yeah, but there's light tubes involved, and at one point he gets his neck lacerated badly, punctured
with a broken light tube.
He immediately recognizes it.
You can see
the light tube sticking out of his neck,
and you see blood.
But there's a moment here that also plays into my theory that's coming, where he puts his hand on his neck like, oh fuck. He finishes that spot. He kicks out of a pin. He gets out of the ring, and you can read on his face, fuck this. I'm in over my head. I didn't know what I was getting into. And then you watch it wash over his face. I have to go back in the ring, and I have to finish this. And he gets back in the ring. He pushes like fans off of him. He goes home in the match wrestler speak, goes home, and then he runs out of the ring to go to the hospital. But he thought about quitting. He thought about just walking the fuck out.
I see both sides. I get the appeal of the passion and the I gotta finish this. But to me, there's a difference between tearing your quad and finishing a match and getting an artery in your neck punctured with a light tube. And it's not a small.
No, it's horrible.
At the hospital, it's
very graphic.
The towel off, and it's just instant gush.
Yeah,
this is probably 25 minutes after it happened.
Oh, it had to be like a long time. He couldn't even get into the door of the hospital. Wouldn't even open for him. Like, and Luke Perry and Jungle Boy are the ones that take him to the hospital, which was interesting. I agree that it is way, way different than, a torn muscle or something like that. And he should have rushed to the hospital sooner. But you also just shouldn't do wrestling in the first place. It's bad for your health. I'm saying that it's also a very intriguing notion that the whole premise of this whole thing is that he wants to be taken seriously. Yeah. If he walks out of a match, it's done. Right? And that's the whole attitude of the old school wrestler. And no one told him to be that way. He just knew.
That for him was, this is paying a due.
Yeah, he just knew, I can't just walk out. It was just inherent inside of him.
Yeah, I get it, man. That's just crazy.
But and then his life sort of spins out of control, and he starts drinking again, and they start talking about, hey, if you're trying to live a clean life, wrestling's not the place to do it.
Yeah.
Which it always baffles me to find out that wrestlers don't drink or do anything.
Yeah.
It wouldn't in another walk of life, but pain and things that mask pain go hand in hand. So he's really fucking struggling. He's really going through it. And then
something clicks.
Yeah.
Oh, then it cuts to the beginning of the show, of the movie. And he's got a match a year later at Knobs' Legends of Wrestling against Mr. Anderson, and that's when I just got goosebumps because it's a cool moment. Like
it occurs to him the journey that he's gone on.
Yeah, like everything's come full circle in that year.
Yeah,
and he's back where he started.
Yeah,
and now he's on the show in the main event.
Yeah.
And he starts training.
He gets himself in great shape.
Better shape than he was before.
Yeah.
And then a cool moment, like he talks a couple times he talks about the movie, like he talks about Macho Man and Elizabeth and how his wife looks like Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And I can see the similarities.
Such a cool scene.
And
such
so
a cool moment.
And I don't know if this was Hollywood because it's a movie, but it looks, the way it comes off is he's standing at the curtain and he's like, fuck, he's stressed out. He's got this match. He's been battling demons, getting ready for this match. And it looks like his wife shows up
and surprises
him. She gets in a red dress and red gloves and gets all done up and surprises him at the curtain to be his Miss Elizabeth, to walk him to the ring.
Who knows whether that was a work or not? It still was a cool moment.
Yeah.
It was a really, really cool moment. He goes in, he has the match with Ken Anderson, who is Ken Anderson was Ken Kennedy? He's
Mr. Kennedy.
He was fired from WWE for a lack of professionalism.
I loved him in WWE.
This showed to me he's absolutely matured and is a professional. And just sidebar, I want to see an older, grizzled faced, mean stretcher Mr. Anderson in WWE or AEW later on. Like, he's still not old enough for what I'm envisioning. Like, I want to see him like 50 years old, like Tim Storm is in NWA. Anyways, David Arquette wins that match.
Yeah.
Which is a complete and utter 180 from getting kicked out a year before.
Yeah.
It's just a really cool moment. And then there's the credits and there's a bunch of like really funny stuff.
Booker T comes to the ring.
Yeah, Booker T comes and the end of the movie is very uplifting.
Yeah.
So that's the movie. Here's this theory that I've been working on this whole time that I keep dropping in. David Arquette was born a professional wrestler and he accidentally became a Hollywood actor, and that was the job he didn't belong in. This motherfucker inherently knew that he had to finish that match.
Yeah.
He got hit with light tubes and never even thought about turning back the other way. His whole family didn't want him to do it, and he was like, I don't know why I have to do it, I just have to do it. It was just inside of him the whole time, and he never knew he was a wrestler on the inside. And if some of you might know what I'm talking about and some of you might not, I can't really verbalize it. It's just a thing that exists inside of you that makes you understand these things. And he's one of those people, and he proved it to everyone.
When you have everyone has dreams of what they want to be when they get older. And when you have that thing that you just like, I need to do this. And most people, the 99%, don't go do that thing.
Yeah.
And
because it's going to be hard. In this particular thing, not only is it going to be hard, it's going to fucking hurt. He got stabbed in the neck and kept doing it.
Yeah.
They showed some sort of cut or surgery or something on his elbow in the middle of his like learning how to do it, and he kept doing it. I think personally he accomplished his goal with me, and it seems like a lot of other people. I have respect for David Arquette, the wrestler.
Yeah.
He not only has he had more matches than I have, he also got in better shape than any of those fucks at the beginning who were talking shit about him.
Yeah.
He's had more matches than them. He's a more prominent figure than they are. He is a more professional, not accomplished, just a professional more than they are.
And it seems like he didn't use his status.
No, at all.
To get him.
He almost resisted it.
He's like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
I need to start at the bottom, and maybe his name helped him, set up private classes and whatever. That if you have the opportunity and the means to create more opportunity, go for it. But he got dirty and started at the bottom.
Yeah.
And to work his way up. Not to be WWE champion, but just to be a wrestler.
Just to say I'm a wrestler and mean it and have other people reciprocate.
Go David Arquette, the wrestler.
Yeah. Not
actor turned wrestler, but David Arquette, the wrestler.
Yeah. David Arquette is a wrestler.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really need anything else attached to it.
Yep.
Okay, so that's our views of David Arquette. Views of the movie. This is my all-time favorite wrestling documentary.
Yeah,
and maybe that's recency bias, but I absolutely loved every second of this entire documentary.
Yeah, so did I. It's hard to say because it's a little different than Beyond the Mat. I think the personal tie to Beyond the Mat.
Yeah.
having APW in there and knowing the players and the people and, you know, first name basis with some of them, like there's that personal aspect to it. But this is just laser focused on one man's mission.
Yep.
To redeem himself and be accepted in a community that he loves, that thinks that he's a fucking goof.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I agree with you. It's probably the best wrestling documentary that I've seen.
I intend to buy this movie and watch it more times in my life.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved this movie. If you sat through this review having not seen it, even though we told you this was, go see it. I cannot recommend it enough. Yeah. I'm gonna shout it out on social media. I'm gonna recommend it to any wrestling fans that I know. I'm gonna tell people that just are curious about David Arquette, that maybe like read People Magazine or those kind of people, that they should watch it.
It's a good one if you know people who shit on wrestling and say wrestling is fake. And we all have those people, you know, being in, you know, having been in the business, that you get kind of heated when people say wrestling is fake. If you want to say no, it's not, you can either get drunk at a Christmas party and punch them like some people do, or you can just go watch this movie.
Yeah.
And it gives you yes, there's a Hollywood aspect of it, and there's some goofy parts, but it gives you a really good look.
If they don't want to watch it, tell them it's a Courtney Cox movie. She's in the credits.
It gives you a really good look into what it's like.
Absolutely. I think we'll drop this as a bonus episode, so probably no news following this, but definitely follow us on the socials. We're on Twitter, Good Bad NHB. I love to hear from you guys. Get at me. Let's have a conversation about this movie. Yep. Get at us on Instagram, Good Bad Wrestling, Facebook, YouTube. Get in contact with us. I want to talk about this movie probably for the next like 2 weeks. I'm jazzed on it. And let us know what you thought of it. Maybe you think completely different we did. Maybe you thought it sucked. So
let's talk about it gentlemen.
Let's have a conversation. Come at me, bro. And stay tuned for more episodes of Dumb Crap, and we'll catch you guys down the road.
Peace.